I think we should start today's show with a moment of silence. I'm sure if you are at all online or in touch with the zeitgeist culturally in this country, you heard of the tragic passing last week of Polly Holiday, who played Flo on Alice, of course, as everyone knows, also was one of the stars of Gremlins, but her catchphrase, "Kiss My Grits," helped shape the 1980s. Anyway, rest in power, Polly Holiday. Let's get into it. I'm John Stanton, editor of Gambit, and this is The Get Down. There's been a lot going on this week. One of those things, of course, was in the last week, the Mayor Kr3w formally appeared in court for the first time to face the charges of corruption and bribery and lying that have been brought against her. She, of course, pled not guilty. Somewhat hilariously, the judge in the case took her passport and told her that except for the 13 counties kind of closest to New Orleans, she would have to get approval from the court if she was going to travel, which means that Mayor Kr3w is once again a resident of New Orleans full time. So welcome back to town, Mayor Kr3w. This is a good way to segue into what this week's issue of the Gambit is, in which you should definitely go check out. And what we decided to do this week for our issue was to ask local people, residents, regular residents, what they wanted to see the next mayor, regardless of who wins, do. So we asked some over 40 under 40 honorees from this year, as well as some folks that we know in the community to respond. And we got a lot of really great answers from people. It's everywhere from like a 13-year-old to a 46-year-old, various races and genders, different parts of the city. And it's really an illuminating story that I really recommend everyone read, especially if you're running for office in this city. But I think one of the highlights of it that I really thought was interesting was that in addition to sort of fixing infrastructure in the city, a lot of what folks wanted to see was a renewal of trust in government, and to have somebody come in and give us something to look forward to in the future. Whether it is big plans or small plans or something to create some sort of hope for where we are going to go as a community that is not just sort of stuck in the mire that we currently find ourselves. So I definitely highly recommend go checking that out. You will not be disappointed. Well, I'm back with Jake, our music maestro. So Jake, this week you wrote about a rapper who you actually introduced me to, Kr3w, who has become one of my favorites. I love seeing him. And one of the things actually in your story that I did not realize that this new record of his that you wrote about is his first proper record.
Full length. Yeah. So Kr3w, New Orleans born rapper. He's part of he's part of Global Warming. He wrote their song 504 that just really blew up 2020, 2021. Full-length album recently. And that is surprising because he has had several EPs and several collaborative albums with other artists, and he's part of Global Warming, like I said.
He's been on some big tours too.
Yeah, and he's performed with Waterseed and went on tours with them, and he's performed in other countries and stuff like that. But yeah, this one he's considering his first full-length album because he really this is a very intentional album for him. It's a new album called God Is With Us. And he started working on this probably about 4 or 5 years ago. And he started to kind of reflect on where he had been in his life and where he was going with his career and everything. And so a lot of these songs are very important to him. There's a lot of stories behind them. But he really wanted to make this an intentional album, that he brought a lot of his friends onto the record. And so Pell, Sleazy Easy, 504 Icy Girl, Raheem Glaspie, Sinise Love. There's just a lot of people who are on this album. Mm-hmm. And then on top of it, he got family on the album too. His grandparents are featured. He recorded them talking. There's just a lot that he emotionally put into this album.
Well, and his family, to be clear, like he comes from a very like musical family, right?
as well. Yeah. So Crucial grew up on the West Bank. I believe he lived in Algiers for quite a while. But his family is kind of very steeped in gospel music, and they had a community choir in Avondale. His grandmother, she's the first voice you hear on this record, she recorded a couple of gospel songs on a 45 back years and years ago. So one of the very last track on this album is like 30 members of the Galage family just kind of singing, and it's this, I believe it was a song they sang at his grandmother's funeral. And it's there's a little bit of gospel and spirituality on the album, although Crucial kind of keeps things a little bit more amorphous. It's not like white beard, God in the sky, but more about like the connections between people. God is more of a spiritual amorphous idea. But yeah, so he put a lot of intention into this album. Right now, you can only get the album on vinyl through Peaches or through Crucial. And the whole idea is like he wants people to have this album, put it on a turntable, listen to it, kind of dissect it, consume it. There's a lot of great upbeat songs, a lot of tracks that will be great on like a workout playlist. But for right now, his idea is like, I put a lot of myself into this record, and I want people to really intentionally interact with it. But the album will also be out on streaming in October. But if you really want to sit with it as he intended, go pick it up on vinyl and give it a spin.
Sure.
So,
I really appreciate you. Thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah, and I'm here with Kaylee, and we are covering the New Orleans mayoral election. Over the past few weeks, we've been going to a lot of forums and events, so we're going to chat about that. Right now, the three leading contenders are Councilmember Oliver Thomas, Councilmember Helena Moreno, who's the council vice president, and State Senator Royce Duplessis. And when campaign season first kicked off, a lot of the candidates were talking about the same things, and they still are to a degree, but they've elaborated on their plans over the past few weeks. And the key concerns are infrastructure, economic development, affordable housing, and also just getting basic city services like trash pickup and streetlights working. And another thing that we've noticed is that they are starting to kind of ramp up the subtle jabs and also the explicit attacks on each other's campaigns.
And yeah, I saw that Duplessis had an ad recently. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, he had a 30-second spot that aired recently where he really goes after Councilmember Moreno. He sort of paints her as this agent of chaos. It's like a traditional political attack ad. It shows her in kind of unflattering light. It's very grainy, and he through a voiceover narrator basically implies that she is not fit to get a promotion at City Hall. And he basically pins a lot of the blame on her for a lot of the drama and tensions that have occurred between the mayor's office and the council over the past couple years.
And when I noticed that when asked recently about that attack ad, Moreno responded, hadn't noticed.
That's correct. Yeah, she hasn't really been going on the attack. However, it was interesting because at a recent forum I attended, Eileen Carter, who is also running for mayor, she's a little bit of an underdog candidate, but she is probably a familiar name to a lot of people because she ran the failed recall campaign against LaToya Cantrell. She very much echoed a lot of Senator Duplessis's rhetoric. She kind of went off topic at a forum and started attacking Helena and saying that she was, behind a lot of the chaos, and said she wasn't, implied that she wasn't ready for a promotion.
And we've definitely been covering a lot of these forums, and we've definitely started to notice a little bit of forum fatigue at a recent forum. Oliver Thomas kind of joked with people before, saying like everyone's got a forum, everyone's got a podcast. He also joked about being asked the same question like 15 times. And so I guess, so we've also been noticing Helena Moreno has been kind of skipping just a couple of the forums here and there, and Duplessis and Thomas have definitely called her out in those.
Yeah,
cases.
that's correct. I think all of the candidates are very busy because in previous years they've done forums and a lot of in-person canvassing, but they're also spending a lot of time online now, trying to interact with people who are on their phones all the time and going into their own comment sections on social media. So that's kind of an interesting new development in this campaign season. Kaylee, at a recent forum that you attended, did you notice anything new, any new talking points?
Yeah, so at the Downtown Development District Forum, Royce Duplessis did kind of start talking about his plans for Canal Street and also is talking about going after unpermitted vendors in the French Quarter. And he said to set the tone for Canal Street and the downtown area.
Okay, that's very interesting, and we will definitely be keeping an eye out. The next few weeks are going to get very interesting, we suspect, and we've also heard that from the candidates too. So stay tuned, and remember that early voting is on September 27th, and the election is on October 11th.
And this week, I'm once again joined by Will Coviello to talk about what's happening. And there's a pretty packed week of stuff going on here in New Orleans.
Yeah, fall's in full swing. So we got a festival. West Bank Heritage Festival is at the Elario Center. They got Mia X with the original Peanuts. They got
Which is always
Ron
awesome.
Dempsey. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they got a gospel explosion on like Sunday. So that's Saturday and Sunday at the Elario Center. That's a big thing. For festivals, New Orleans Fashion Week is still going on. So there's still some more like runway events and parties and events for that. DJ Soul Sister is celebrating her 50th. So that's going to be a big night at Tips. On Saturday. They're saluting the Gap Band. Charlie Wilson's original band.
One of the greatest bands. Oh.
Yeah. So the Nth Power, Nikki Gillespie's band is going to kind of be doing some covers, and DJ Soul Sister is going to do a set and some more festivities. So that's going on at Tips on Saturday. It's a good week for comedy. A couple of New York comedians are coming down. Gianmarco Ceresi is going to be at the Howlin' Wolf. He does a lot of stuff about like the awkwardness of growing up with divorced parents who were making very poor dating choices, and like he has jokes about his dad dating his teachers and him not really getting any better grades out of that. And then Caitlin Palufo, who's a big brassy comic out of New York. She's coming to Sports Drink on both Friday and Saturday. And then something we talked about with the filmmaker, Sandy Dubowski is bringing a great film to Zeitgeist this week. It's called Sabbath Queen. It is about a drag queen rabbi. The part of the crazy story is that he was a drag queen first and then went and became a kind of a conservative, not fully Orthodox, but conservative rabbi. He has a crazy life journey in which he's from Israel. He's from this family that's had a rabbi in every generation for 38 generations.
Wow.
Dating back like almost 1,000 years. But he's gay, and Orthodox Judaism does not accept homosexuality. And he ends up coming to New York and creating this Ravits, or I can't say this word, Ravits, Hadassah Gross. And she is this loud, brassy performer who kind of becomes a spiritual figure, and that pivots his trek, and he does a couple of things, one of which is creating a God-optional synagogue, which is also not popular with Orthodox Judaism. But this is an amazing story about his journey, both as a performer, kind of as an artist, and as a spiritual leader, and what he does to kind of, engage in a dialogue with the Orthodox Church. So it's this classic story of like how anybody deals with a kind of a very rigid kind of traditional religion that doesn't recognize people who live, experiences outside that.
Interesting.
It's fascinating. And then, so Dubowski is coming down. He'll be at 2 talkbacks on Tuesday at Zeitgeist. He's going to be joined by John Cameron Mitchell, creator of Hedwig and the Angry Inch. And then they're going to have an after party at the Always Lounge. And then on Wednesday, there's another talkback with a Tulane professor. But anyway, that's going to be a pretty cool event. It's a great film.
Great. And for anyone interested in what's going on at the Fashion Week, check out this clip that our producer, Maddie Spinner, put together on one of the fashion designers that'll be featured this week.
Hey you guys, welcome back to The Get Down. I'm joined by Éla Singleton. She's a local designer. She's got some pieces coming up in New Orleans Fashion Week this week, so just wanted to come and chat and hear more about your collection. So when did you get into design?
I started designing about 5 years ago. I studied fashion merchandising in college and then got a sewing machine at the thrift store and just learned to like alter things myself, and then I became the seamstress and like tailor for all my friends. And I realized that I love having it as a creative outlet. This is my first like kind of bridal tailored collection, and I was inspired by a little capsule collection I made last year of upcycling lace doilies and like vintage lace tablecloths into looks, and that was kind of the inspiration and start of this collection. When I learned more in school about sustainability in fashion, it kind of inspired me and made me realize that there was this massive need for more sustainable fashion and attainable sustainable fashion brands. And I love thrifting and I love vintage looks anyway. So upcycling and making clothes sustainably was the only way that I knew I wanted to design. My mom is also very into thrifting, and she just went down a rabbit hole of finding all of these like vintage bridal dresses and sending them to me and be like, do you want this? Like, it's so much material, because it is so much material that's on one dress. So she kind of helped encourage me to like just use it as like a form of, you know, something to have, a material. And then I did a custom rehearsal dinner dress for a wedding in Italy in the spring. And that kind of gave me momentum to make like a full bridal collection where everything was made from either vintage lace or previous wedding dresses that I'm deconstructing and putting back together to make it like a full bridal lookbook. Yeah.
And you know, like New Orleans is a great, like
Yeah,
it's a
huge
destination.
destination for it. I
Yeah.
think that just kind of, that like hand in hand with feeling inspired by it kind of worked out really well.
So tell me a little bit more about your prep or just like design process in general.
Yeah. So I start at either thrift stores or online secondhand, like retailers. Goodwill has an online shop, you know, eBay, everyone. And I use 100% recycled materials. So when those come in, if it's a dress that I like bought and want to upcycle, I kind of look at the existing silhouette and then decide, you know, what do I see as potential in this? Do I want to just use this as material for like a completely new look, or do I want to kind of maintain and honor the dress that was there and then make something new off of it? Like there's one look I'm working on for the show that was a 50s like vintage, very classic wedding dress, like full skirt, long sleeves, all of this. And I want to kind of keep the essence of the original design, but make it completely new and like unrecognizable. So I kind of like to carve out the design from what was already there.
Well, thank you for chatting with me.
Finally, and another thing. On a serious note, there's been a lot of discussion in the last week or so about civility and what things you should and shouldn't say to each other or about each other, about things that happen. And while I think that oftentimes as a society we get super invested and overly focused on these sorts of fights after things happen in a way that is not particularly helpful or relevant to our circumstances, I would like to point out that there are a lot of people in this world that love to throw that down when something happens that affects them, even as they are doing the same thing that they are complaining about other people doing. Most notably, I would point out that folks like the governor, for instance, ridiculing Bill Cassidy, who is a state senator or U.S. senator for Louisiana the other day, and basically ridiculing him for trying to make sure that people in Louisiana could get COVID vaccinations. The governor thinks that he like owned him and, did a whole little thing. And I'm sure he was quite proud of himself. But all he did was really sort of show his ignorance and honestly, his cruelty and his lack of compassion for the people of the state. Because COVID kills people all the time. Every day someone dies from COVID. And the fact of the matter is that vaccines are safe. They save people. And just because the governor wants to, pick me to hear Trump these days, doesn't mean that he should be putting the rest of us at risk and using this kind of rhetoric that like scares people and misinforms people and makes things worse in our state. We already have it hard enough in this state as it is. We don't need the governor actively working to make people afraid to take care of themselves and seek out medical treatment that has been proven effective. Maybe we should be thinking about toning down that rhetoric. Anyway, that'll do it for me this week. As usual, go ahead and Shrek the hell out of the like button every time you see it. Go to bestofneworleans.com, sign up to become a member of the Gambit crew, and definitely be ready to check out next week because our issue coming out next week is our big Best of New Orleans that is your fault. You guys voted for it, and we're going to have lots of great stuff in that issue. So, we'll see you next week.